family. We split men and women apart from each other and pitted them against each other as opposed to telling them to work together. And then we empowered women. And I say this very seriously. 1 in 10 women in Gen Z are on OnlyFans. They're prostituting themselves online. Our version of empowering women was them becoming prostitutes. Why is that a good message?
All right, guys, we got Braeden Sorbo here today with the book, Embrace Masculinity, man. You're pretty young to be writing something like this.
Yeah, so I'm 23 years old, and I just wanted to write it because there was nothing else really available for people my age on topics like this. You have the great speakers in the minds of the conservative movement and the social political whatever, but there isn't really any Gen Zers who are going out there and telling people, it's okay to want traditional values back in America. It's a good thing actually, and so I decided to be that voice, and that's why I wrote the book.
What's the core premise? Like, what's the main message in there?
So the main message is that we need to return to traditional values. And I break down everything that I possibly could have thought of. The first chapter is called The American Dream is Dead, where we kind of discuss the fact that what used to be, you get a job, you get married, you have kids. You could support a family of 5 with a milkman or delivery driver's salary. You can't do that anymore. This idea of the American dream doesn't exist anymore, at least the way that we were taught. And so there are studies that are showing, parents with 2 or more kids, 20% of those families, the parents are foregoing an entire meal just so that their kids can eat all. That's
20%?
Yeah, 20%. 1 in 5. How is that the American dream? Where is that the successful, thriving nation that I grew up hearing so many great things about? And so I lament the fact that we don't have that anymore, but obviously it's not all pessimism. There's a return. And so the rest of the book is diving into the war between the patriarchies, the social media, how it can be used for good, how it can be used for bad, the destruction with the dating sphere, with dating apps and things of that nature, the necessity of finding good friends, fraternity, the beautifulness, the beauty of marriage, bringing back beauty within the church and within society as a whole. Because, when we create art, what we're really doing is we're trying to mirror truth.
Yeah.
And in that, if the truth that we're mirroring is ugly, our art is ugly, in which case society is also ugly. I mean, you can look at old medieval cities and they're gorgeous and peasants without a PhD built those. But you go to, downtown Miami and every building is a skyscraper with the most hideous architecture out front that you've ever seen. And we look at that and where's the inspiration? Where is the reverence? Where is the beauty? And so this destruction of beauty really is one of the leading factors in the decline in morality within our nation.
I love that. So you grew up in a pretty traditional household environment?
I would say so. I mean, my mom is very strong. She's a tough lady, speaks 5 languages fluently.
Wow.
She, homeschooled all 3 kids while having one of the top 5 radio programs in the nation for morning shows. So she's hardcore, man.
Yeah.
She comes from a strong, New York, Brooklyn family. So I was blessed with great parents, but yes, very traditional, very reverent, very, unnormal. I guess it's not common anymore.
I mean,
and so
well done, first of all, because your dad was obviously a huge famous actor. Your mom was a baller. So to be how you are now is impressive, because most kids in that situation would have an ego and, have spending problems, I'd imagine.
Yeah, no, I don't know where I get it from, but I'm super frugal. I hate spending money.
Really?
And so I explore a little bit of that in the book. Obviously, I wrote this but for multiple reasons, but one of them is also to prove that I could. Like you said, there are so many kids who have fancy, rich parents or whatever, and they sort of ride on their coattails. And I understand to a degree, we're blessed with different situations in life. Different people have different experiences, and we should capitalize on the things we're given. And also, there is something that is very rare when it comes to breaking away from that and building your own mold rather than fitting into the one that society has given you from birth. And so I started my social media with just my first name, Braeden S. And I didn't do anything with it until I got about 500,000 followers on TikTok. And that was when I put my last name.
Wow.
That was when I decided, okay, I've proven this for myself. I can do it. I've written 2 books by myself. That's not, oh, well, my dad is an actor and therefore I just have books. I wanted to do this to prove not only to others, but to myself that I can still be my own individual outside of the shadow of my parents and really explore the world in that mindset, as opposed to one of, well, everything, I could just do this or do that. Because that doesn't lead to fulfillment. That doesn't lead to gratification.
Respect. I went through your ex. I got to talk about some of these tweets. These are hilarious.
Let's do it.
Mandatory DNA test for women.
Yes. So I've noticed a lot of the cheating tests, like the tweets I've seen is like everyone goes, well, my husband cheated on me and this and that and the other. I go, you know what? We should stop cheaters outright. Why don't we do mandatory DNA tests for kids? That way, if there's any doubts, they can be cleared up immediately. And I got attacked. All I did was I made a suggestion to fix the problem of cheaters and infidelity. And all of a sudden, people want to be quiet about it. And so I just like to call things out. And obviously my page is very satirical. I am a sarcastic person. I truly believe, and this is what I started my social media with, was comedy. I truly believe that every joke has a hint of truth in it. And when we limit the jokes and words people can say, what we're actually doing is we're restricting freedoms and we're limiting the reach of truth. And so the day that comedy becomes outlawed is the day that free speech is gone. And frankly, we're already there.
Right. We were almost there. Comedians were getting canceled left and right back when Biden was president.
Yeah.
You know, you're also, on a serious note, you are against.
I am.
You want it banned, right?
Wholeheartedly banned it. And ironically, this is where libertarians go after me and they're like, what about free speech? It's not free speech. Statistically, for both the viewer, the consumer, and the person participating is just about the most destructive thing you can do to your body. There's the weirdest science behind it. People who make, often the industry is used in human trafficking. And so people are trafficked throughout the industry without the viewers really knowing. Two, they're sedated. Joshua Broome was a former porn star, top 3 in the nation by the time he retired. He's now a pastor with kids. He talks about the story of how you're almost forced into it. You're guilted into it. You're told, well, I have this great opportunity to work in the movie industry and I want to be an actor. And then you get there and they're like, okay, take your clothes off, have sex with this girl right now. It's like, well, I want to do that. But then you're going to be letting everyone down. Look, your agent's here. You already got the money. He's ready to pay you. All the crew is here. Everyone's ready to go. Like, you have to do it. You're here. So they guilt people, both men and women, into participating. And then what they do is the average cycle for a star is about 3 years, because after about 3 years of making that content, you become numb emotionally, spiritually, and physically to a degree. And so what happens is after those 3 years, you need to medicate yourself.
All right, guys, Sean Kelly here, host of the Digital Social Hour podcast. Just filmed 33 amazing episodes at Student Action Summit. Shout out to Code Health, sponsor these episodes, but also I took them before filming each day. Felt amazing. Just filmed 20 episodes straight and I'm not even tired, honestly. Much like this, where it's just based off, the codes that are in the saline solution. Code Health has been awesome.
Feel the drop and then go code yourself.
It starts with something simple, maybe smoking weed, THC, having a vape pen, whatever. But a lot of stars start diving into deeper drug habits, which leads to depression, anxiety, OCD, PTSD, and self-harm. And that is obviously in no way, shape, or form a beneficial thing. And then on the receiving end, the people who are consuming, statistically unlikely to survive in actual relationships because it gives false sense of what a relationship should be. You create this faux misconception of how it's supposed to be in your mind. When that doesn't get met, you ruin your real life relationships. It's isolationist in nature, in that sense. It also destroys your ability to form bonds with people. So not even just date or have relationships, but the ability to connect with people. You become secluded. And we're seeing this. It's not like, oh, I'm just saying random things.
Yeah.
Young men, 45% of them between the ages of 18 and 25 have never approached a girl in real life. Never approached a girl. 45%. That's almost 50% of guys. Like 1 in 2 guys has never approached a girl in his life between the ages of 18 and 25. You know why? It's because of the industry. I don't want to risk rejection and public humiliation. I'm just going to go sit in my room on my phone where I can pay the girls on OF to say and do what I want. There, they love me for who I am. I don't have to change. It keeps us in this false sense of security and it destroys us.
Wow. A lot of negatives, it sounds like.
Yes, yes.
Dean Withers.
What about him? What do you want to know?
Do you think he's authentic?
So I struggle with Dean Withers. I feel like the other 3 in the main little quartet of DNC boys, Harry, Parker, and Chris, are authentic in their beliefs. Like they truly believe it. They're wrong, but they do believe it. I don't see that with Dean. I could be wrong, right? And to his credit, he goes out and he talks to people and stuff, but it all seems like rage baiting for clip farming for monetization money. It doesn't seem authentic like Harry, Chris, and Parker. And with that said, I would be happy to sit down with any of them to discuss, because you do these, they have their little TikTok shows and they just, well, you're gay. And then they mute you and kick you from the stream. Oh, we owned him. That doesn't build anything, So an actual sit down discussion. I was actually talking with Destiny's team yesterday. They came to me and they were asking me all these opinions on this. They're like, wait, so you think this? And I was like, yes, because what happens is we're not talking. The social media and political spheres are so full of angst and hatred that we're not actually realizing a lot of people, not all, but plenty of people want the same thing, but have different routes of getting there.
Right.
And until we can realize that, there's never going to be any connection. It's the same thing with a marriage. If I want, something in marriage and my wife wants something else, but we don't talk about it, we're going to get divorced. When you stop communicating, bad things happen. And so I would love the opportunity to communicate, but I say communicate because people aren't doing that anymore, right? The rage clip farming and all that stuff is not productive for discussion and discourse. All it does is sow discord.
Not at all. Yeah, I just moderated a debate with Destiny and Myron Gaines, and they probably agreed on 95% of topics.
I was watching and it looked like there wasn't much anger or anything like that being exchanged between the two. And to his credit, it looks like Destiny's trying to clean up his act. There was one post I saw of his, since we're talking about posts, I retweeted negatively, obviously, but someone made a comment about his 12-year-old daughter having a crush on a little boy in school. And Destiny goes, did he smash? And that is something that I struggle with greatly. That is what brain does to you, is you think about 12-year-olds having sex.
Jeez, that's so, that's what,
sick,
5th grade?
For the record, 5th grade. That is sick.
Yeah, that's way too young, man. Way too young. Did you watch the new Superman?
I have not yet. It came out just past week, right?
Yeah.
I've covered it a little bit on my page and stuff like that, where people saying, well, Superman was an immigrant. I said, great. The day immigrants can fly and rescue people and save the world, they can stay. That's how it works. Illegals. But we have to remember, Superman, one, is a fake character. He's not real, right? Superman also became a naturalized citizen. He had his citizenship and he cared about the country that he resided in. He wasn't waving the flag of Krypton saying, I hate everybody, burn in hell. That's the most ridiculous thing, the comparison. And so James Gunn, nothing short of a disappointment. I don't have any desire to support that movie. Based on how I've seen the interviews, most of what Hollywood puts out, and this is coming from someone who grew up behind the camera watching Hollywood make movies, most of what Hollywood puts out today is nothing short of garbage. And for that reason, I have no desire to support it.
Why do you think it's gone so downhill from its heyday, Hollywood?
It's because we've slowly deconstructed the traditional values that men and women had. And so I say this all the time, like repeal the 19th and gender roles and all this stuff. But actually, gender roles are important. Not because one gender's better than the other. I am stronger than my sister and mom. That's a fact. Right. I can lift more than them. That doesn't mean I'm better than them. My mom speaks 5 languages. I speak 1.5, right? That doesn't mean that she's better than me. What it means is we all have unique gifts as humans that God has given us. And when we realize those, instead of trying to compete against each other and work with each other, it is better for society as a whole. That's how this country was built, right? This country was built on the backs of families who wanted something that was different from where they had come from. They didn't want the British Empire destroying what they were trying to build up in light of placing their own colony. They wanted to build something for themselves. And so because of that, America was born. Because of that, the founders were willing to tell the British government and King Henry, no, we're not doing that. We have taken that away. We've stripped it from people. The feminist movement, I'll go on record saying this, the feminist movement has been one of the most destructive things to the history of our country, because what it did was it destroyed the family. We split men and women apart from each other and pitted them against each other as opposed to telling them to work together. And then we empowered women. And I say this very seriously. 1 in 10 women in Gen Z are on OnlyFans. They're prostituting themselves online. Our version of empowering women was them becoming prostitutes. Why is that a good message? What does that do to the young girls who are on social media right now? Because kids are on social media, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. They're on their phones, looking at Instagram, watching YouTube. What does it do for them mentally when they see 2 different women? They see the woman who works hard at the company, becomes the president, CEO, whatever, successful, spends years, even decades grinding, fighting, and she succeeds. Or they see the porn star who slept her way to the top, made millions of dollars, and then decided, I'm going to repent and become Christian now, and my life's all good, but don't do what I did, guys. What do you think they're going to choose? One is clearly easier. I make jokes all the time. If I had boobs, I'd rule the world. Like this, there is truth to that. And the fact of the matter is, when we tell young women, go be anything, but also being a prostitute's the easiest and quickest way to success, what we're secretly telling them is give up all of your autonomy for the gratification of men. We said women aren't objects. We want the right to vote. But go become an object for men because it's easier than working a real job. Where is that beneficial to society?
Right. 1 in 10 on OF is madness.
Yes, 1 point, and that's the ones who admit it.
Wow. So
1.2 million. Yeah, well, there's 1.2 million people in Gen Z, which is roughly 1 in 10, but there could be more. It's like there's 85% of men admit to watching in the past month. That number could be higher. There could be guys who don't admit it at all.
That's definitely higher.
Right?
That's definitely higher.
I hope you guys are enjoying the show. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps the show a lot with the algorithm. Thank you.
Why would you admit to it? There's no gain to that if you're watching it, right?
Yeah. Well, it's become so normalized that there's no shame behind it. So a lot of people will admit it just because they don't think there's anything wrong.
Wow.
Just because of how normalized it's been in society. I mean, look at any music video today made by a rapper. Look at half of the movies in Hollywood. They have a sex scene. Look at what we're promoting. Look at the people that we're pedestaling. Look at the people that we're putting up on a stage to speak to young women and say, you guys can do it. Don't do what I did. I became a multi-millionaire by having sex with guys on camera. So don't do that. But go be strong. Like, what?
Nuts. How do you feel about the opposite view to feminism, the red pill stuff? How do you feel about that movement?
Well, what's funny is the red pill stuff makes total sense if you don't have an objective moral base, right? If you are just a man, the first commandment God gives Adam in the garden with Eve is be fruitful and multiply, extend dominion over the earth. So if you decide to forego God, your natural desire is to have as many kids with as many women as possible. It's all about domination. That's what Islam teaches. In Islam, you can have up to 4 wives and you can have as many kids as you want with them. And so when we remove the moral foundation from society, the red pill movement is completely in the right, because if we don't have an objective truth we're holding ourselves to, who are you to say that what I'm doing is wrong? Who am I to say that you're doing is wrong? I believe that it's wrong because from the Christian perspective, one woman, one man married together for the unity, for the covenant between them and God to have children. The purpose of marriage is to have children and extend your bloodline. And we see that the downside of the red pill society comes literally straight from the Bible. We have Gideon, who had his 300 men, took over, wiped out all the bad guys, came back, had a bunch of wives, had 70 kids total with his wives.
Jeez.
We look at that as men and we're like, 70 kids, his bloodline's going to last forever. Dude's never going out. Abimelech, his son, got jealous and killed 68 of them. The moral is 70 kids doesn't mean your bloodline never ends. It means you get 68 funerals and one bad kid. That's the message.
Are you in favor of the whole Christian nationalism movement?
See, okay, it's tough because a lot of people have different definitions of the Christian nationalist movement.
Right.
When I say Christian nationalist, I think of a foundational truth to society, what the founders intended. In the first 13 colonies, when they wrote the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, you had to profess to be a believing Christian in order to join one of the colonies. That is what I believe in. Because here's the difference. Under God, race, color, creed, gender, sex, whatever, doesn't matter. Outside of God, there are inherent differences between every culture. Under God, all cultures become one. And so, yes, a Christian nation is inherently a good thing because no other religion upholds women as equal to men. No other religion in the history of the world has women equal to men. They're always second, third, or fourth class citizens. Christianity is the only religion to say, no, women and men are equal with different attributes. And for the unity of believers, they get married and they live out the godly ordained plan for their lives. And so Christian nationalism has people, different people have different opinions on it. But when it comes to the definition of bringing morals back to society, yes, we need to be a Christian nation. Why can every other country have its own ethno-state, have its own nation? But America or the European countries, Europe was primarily Christian for the longest time. We've had an influx of Muslims coming in, and now London is 25% under Sharia law.
Wow.
We're seeing Paris, Spain, Italy, France all falling to that same regime. I'm against invasion. I mean, I'm a history nerd. I loved the Crusades and discussing the Crusades. And obviously I'm not fully well versed on them, but I love the aspect of understanding where cultures come from and how they interact with each other. So yes, a Christian nation is an absolute necessity for the survival of America.
Do you worry about Islam invading the West?
I worry about everyone invading the West, without a doubt. Because like I said, under the banner of Christianity, everyone is one. Outside of that banner, there are inherent differences, and if we do not realize them, we are putting ourselves at a disadvantage in the world because other cultures and other countries acknowledge those differences. So if I sit here and I go to every single person who isn't Christian, well, you're just like me and I love you and all that stuff, that can be true. And also, they might not feel the same way about me. In which case, what I have to realize is that there is an inherent danger with certain cultures, not all, but say, for example, in Islam, women in heavily mandated Sharia law countries, women aren't allowed to drive. They can't walk anywhere unless their eyes, up to their eyes, are fully covered. That is not freedom, right? Do you know why they do that?
Why?
It's because the men need to control themselves, so the women have to dress modestly. How is that a freeing culture?
The Tri-Light from Therasage is no joke. Medical grade red and near infrared light with 3 frequencies per light, deep healing, real results, and totally portable. It's legit. Photo biomodulation tech in a flexible on-body panel. This is the Tri-Light from Therasage, and it's next level red light therapy. It's got 118 high-powered polychromatic lights, each delivering 3 healing frequencies, red and near infrared, from 580 to 980 nanometers. It's sleek, portable, and honestly, I don't go anywhere without it.
The men can't control themselves to the point where women can wear nothing short of an entire burqa. That's not freedom. And until we realize that that culture is incredibly different from ours and that culture hates American culture, we will be at a disadvantage.
Would you debate in Islam?
I would be glad to discuss with an Islamist, yes, the Muslim.
I'll set that up for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I got you. Where can people get the book and support you, man?
You can go to sorbostudios.com. Use my code SORBO for 20% off. I've decided just for this event and stuff, have a little fun. And they can follow me at Braeden Sorbo on any and all platforms.
Love it, man. Thanks for coming on, dude. Pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. Check them out, guys. Peace.